All right. So how does this work with Sylvan Safekeeper? It's a little bit more interesting because you have to manage the shroud triggers as opposed to having like some other kind of sack outlet. But like I said in the other video, 9 times out of 10, maybe more, Sylvan Safekeeper is going to be your sack outlet. You almost always get this on your first verse. Starved Rusalka is either a backup or you slot it into the loop later to make it easier. Mostly it's just a backup sack outlet. So this is how it's different. So in this board state, we just versed on 6. We got our Duskwatch Recruiter. We untapped Yisan. We're about to verse up to 7 for Hulk. So we're going to do the same thing. We get Hulk. Now we have to sack the Hulk to Safekeeper. We have to target something. We're going to target himself is fine. There's going to be 2 triggers, one to sack and one for this. We can actually order them, so this one doesn't super matter. So we're going to resolve the Hulk trigger first. And it's going to be the same. So all of our targets will be the same. The iteration is the same. We get Bog Bonder. We reset Yisan. We verse to Endurance. We shuffle these in. We verse to 4. We do this. We verse to 7. We get Bog Bonder. We verse to 3. So this loop is exactly the same. The interesting part is here. So we get this. We'll go get some other 2-drop out of our deck. And then we'll reset here. These verses, funny enough, will actually matter a little bit. So a lot of times what I'll do, same as the other line, I'll get Allosaurus Shepherd with the verse on 1, the verse on 2. I don't know, sometimes I'll just get another untapper just to be safe. We verse to 3, and we get Endurance. Here's where it gets interesting. We have to actually target things now. So both of these are going to have to target something. So sometimes the first couple ones don't super matter because you can retarget this. You can target a Shia. You don't really care if they have Shroud. It might even be good if they have Shroud. So we'll just target a Shia twice. So we'll sack this, respond to that trigger, do it again. And then there's going to be the shuffle trigger here. We'll shuffle these in. But then this Shroud has to resolve because the Shroud trigger is going to go on top of the shuffle trigger. So this is going to have Shroud now. We're going to continue our loop. So we're going to verse to 4, verse to 5, verse to 6, verse to 7. Once we hit 7 here, we're going to sack the Hulk and target the Thought-Knot Seer. Get our Bog Bonder. Bog Bonder is going to reset. Verse to 1, verse to 2. And then our verse to 3 here. So we'll have 2 other creatures. Let's grab a random 1-drop and 2-drop. Now that we have these, we can sack Endurance, sack Bog Bonder, target the Thought-Knot Seer. But this last one is going to have to target something else. So we have to target something. So basically, every time we get to this point in the loop, we have to give something Shroud. So what you can do is, since Yisan verses on 1 and 2 before you hit Endurance, you get a 1-drop and a 2-drop out of your deck. So once you get all the ones that actually matter, even for safety, you can just start getting random 1s and 2s. As long as you net 1 extra creature per iteration, you'll be fine. So this iteration, this Canker Bloom will have Shroud, so we can't target this again. So the next loop that we do will kind of look like this. Now, instead of just sacking these 3, we're going to sack 4 and target some other random creature that doesn't matter. And then in the next loop, this will get added to the sack rotation. But you're always netting cards because you get to verse on 1 and 2. The other thing you can do is Woodland Bellower gets a creature. So if you since you have to verse up to 7 for Hulk, you can verse up to 6, get this, which also gets another creature. So you're always netting creatures. But as long as you're netting at least 1 extra creature every cycle here, you'll be fine. So you pretty much just have to include 1 other creature in your shuffle pile here. And then once we verse back up again, we'll get another 1. We'll get the Canker Bloom again. And then we'll keep looping it that way. Like I said, it's the same loop. It's just kind of extra steps because you have to actually give something Shroud at that certain point in the loop.